Pardeep's Physical Chemistry, chapter name The Distribution Law. First heading is Introduction. Definition of the distribution law. It is observed that when a solid or a liquid is added to a mixture of two immiscible liquids, in a both of which it is soluble, for example, iodine to a mixture of carbon disulfide and water, or succinic acid to a mixture of ether and water, it distributes itself between the two liquids in such a manner that the ratio of concentration of the substances in the two liquids is always constant at constant temperature. These observations were made by Berthelot and Junglefish in 1872. However, it was pointed out by Nernst in 1891 that the ratio of the concentration is constant only when the solute has the same molecular weight, that means the molecular state in both the solvent. Hence, the generalization was put in a proper form by Nernst and is called Nernst distribution law. It states as follows: a solute, solid or liquid, distributes itself between the two immiscible solvents in such a way that the ratio of concentration of the solute in the two solvents is constant of constant temperature, independent of the presence any other molecular species, provided that the solute has the same molecular state in both the solvent. Thus, if a solute X distributes itself between the two immiscible solvents A and B, then if X remains in the same molecular state in both the solvent, we will have concentration of X in a solvent A divided by concentration of X in solvent B is equal to C1 divided by C2 equal to K, a constant. The constant K is called distribution coefficient or partition coefficient. The test of validity of the law, that means to a variety the law verify the law experimentally. Different amount of a solution of iodine may be added to mixture of water and carbon tetrachloride or CS2 taken in different bottles. These are then shaken and allowed to stand. A known volume of each layer is pipetted out and then titrated against hypo solution to find out the concentration of iodine. Similar experiment may be performed with other solutes and immiscible solvents. A few results of some earlier experiment are given in the table of the next page. It is important to note that it is the ratio of concentration which matters and not the ratio of total weights of solute present in two solvents. Hence, the same unit of concentration must be used for each solvent. Condition under which distribution law is valid. The distribution law is valid only if the following conditions are satisfied. The temperature must remain constant throughout the experiment. The two liquids should be mutually immiscible. The amount of the solute should be small, that means the solution should be dilute. This is essential because in certain cases the solute added affects the mutual solubility of the solvent. The solute must have the same molecular state in both the solvent, that means it should not undergo association or dissociation in any of the solvent or concentration with any of the solvent. Thus, the law is not valid for distribution of benzoic acid between water and benzene because it has been observed that in benzene, benzoic acid undergo association to form dimers. That means it exists as C6H5COOH twice. Similarly, the law is also not valid for distribution of any electrolyte like HCl, benzene, water and non-polar solvent like benzene, CS2, CCl4, etc. because the electrolyte under dissociation is in water. Because the electrolytes undergo dissociations in water. Numerical problems on direct applications of distribution law. Some numerical problems are given below. Example 1. When verifying amount of iodine were shaken with CCl4 negative water mixture, the following concentration of the iodine were obtained. CCl4 level 5.1, 10.2, 15.2, 20.3. Water layer 0.06, 0.119, 0.178, 0.236 show that these results illustrate the distribution law. Solution. Here we have concentration in CCl4 layer C1 equal to 5.1, 10.2, 15.2, 20.3. Concentration of H2 layer, that is C2, 0.06, 0.119, 0.178, 0.236. C1 by C2 equal to K equal to 85.0, 85.7, 85.4, 86.0. Since the value of K comes out to be constant, hence the given data illustrate that the distribution law. Thermodynamic derivation of the distribution law. The thermodynamic derivation of the distribution law is based upon the principle that if there are two phases in equilibrium, that means two immiscible solvents containing the same solute dissolved in them, the chemical potential of a substance present in them must be same in both the phases. From thermodynamics, we have that the chemical potential mu of a substance is a solution given by mu equal to mu naught plus RT ln of A, where mu naught is the standard chemical potential and A is the activity of the substance in the solution. Thus, for the solute in liquid A, we have mu A equal to mu naught A plus RT ln of AA. Similarly, for the solute in liquid B, we have mu B equal to mu naught of B plus RT ln of AB. But as already stated, since the liquids A and B are in equilibrium, mu A equal to mu B, mu naught A plus RT ln of A equal to mu naught of B plus RT ln of AB, or RT ln of A minus RT ln of B equal to mu naught B minus mu naught A. That means ln of AA by AB equal to mu naught B minus mu naught A divided by RT. Further, at a given temperature, mu naught A and mu naught B are constant for a given substance in the particular solvent. Hence, at constant temperature, we have from equations ln of AA by AB equal to constant, and therefore AA by AB equal to constant. This is the exact expression for the distribution law. However, if the solutions are dilute, the activities are equal to the concentration, so that expression is modified to Ca by Cb equal to constant, which is the original form of distribution law. Change in the molecular state and distribution law. As mentioned earlier, Nernst was the first person to point out that the distribution law in the form C1 by C2 equal to constant is applicable only if the solute remains in the same molecular state in both the solvent. That means it does not undergo association or dissociation in any of the solvent or combination with any of the solvent. If, however, such changes take place in any of the solvent, then the law cannot be applied to the total concentration of the solute in the two phases, but only to concentration of the identical molecular species in two phases. In each of these cases, the distribution law equation is modified as discussed below for the few simple cases. Case 1. When the solute undergo association in one of the solvent. Suppose the solute X remains in the normal molecular state in phase first, but n molecules of it associate to form complex molecules Xn in phase second. Then the following two equilibrium will exist simultaneously as shown in the figure. X phase 1 into X second equilibrium is Nx with Xn in the phase second. Suppose the total concentration of solute X in phase 1 equal to C1 and the total concentration of solute X in phase 2 equal to C2. Also suppose alpha is the degree of association of the solute in phase second. Then concentration of the associated molecule in phase second, that means Xn equal to 1 by n C2 alpha concentration, and of the unassociated molecules in phase second equal to 1 minus alpha C2. Applying the distribution law to equilibrium, we get concentration of solute X in phase 1 divided by concentration of molecules of X in phase 2 equal to constant. C1 divided by 1 minus alpha into C2 equal to constant. Again applying the law of chemical equilibrium to equilibrium second, we get concentration of the associated molecule in phase second divided by concentration of normal molecules in phase second n constant. 1 by n C2 alpha divided by 1 minus alpha C2 n equal to constant, or C2 alpha divided by 1 minus alpha C2 n equal to constant, where therefore n is a constant. Taking the nth root, we get root of nth C2 alpha divided by 1 minus alpha C2 equal to constant. Dividing equation first by equation second, we get C1 divided by nth root of C2 alpha equal to constant. This is the exact formula. When the molecule in the phase second are almost completely associated, that means alpha equal to 1 and therefore C1 divided by nth root of C2 equal to constant, approx formula. Alternatively, the same result may be obtained in a simple manner as follows. Suppose concentration of the solute X in phase 1 is C1, concentration of associated molecule in phase second equal to C2, concentration of the simple molecule in phase second equal to C3. Applying the law of distribution to equilibrium first, we get C1 by C3 equal to constant. Again applying the law of chemical equilibrium to equilibrium second, we get C2 by C3 n equal to constant. Taking the nth root of both the sides, we get nth root of C2 divided by C3 equal to constant. Dividing equation 3 by equation 4, we get C1 divided by nth root of C2 equal to constant, which is the same as derived above. Thus, in such cases, when the solute undergo association in one of the solvent, the constant value for the partition coefficient is obtained not for the ratio C1 divided by C2 but for the ratio C1 divided by nth root of C2. This relationship has been confirmed by studying the dissociation of benzoic acid between water and benzene. The acid existing mainly the associated molecules C6H5COOH catalyze in benzene solution. The following results were obtained. The distribution of benzoic acid between water and benzene. Grams of benzoic acid in 100 cc of water equal to 0.0150 gram, 0.0195 gram, 0.0289 grams. Grams of benzoic acid in 100 cc of benzene equal to C2 equal to 0.242, 0.412 gram, 0.97 gram. C1 by C2 equal to 0.062, 0.048, 0.030 and C1 divided by under the root of C2 equal to 0.0305, 0.0304, 0.0293. Thus, whereas the ratio of C1 by C2 shows greater variations with that of C1 by under the root of C2 is nearly constant. The formula C1 divided by nth root of C2 equal to K is commonly used for finding the value of n, that means the extent of complexity of the solution molecules in one of the solvent. This is done by finding out the concentration C1 and C2 of the solute in the two solvents in a number of experiments. The value of n is then calculated as explained later in section 11.5.2. Case second, when the solute undergo dissociation in one of the solvent. As before, suppose the solute X dissolved in the phase 1 without any change in the molecular state but undergo dissociation into YZ etc. in the phase second. Then as shown in figure 5.4, the following two equilibria will be set up. X phase 1 changes into X phase second. Second equilibrium is X with equilibrium Y plus Z in the same phase second. Suppose the total concentration of solute X in phase first equal to C1 and total concentration of solute X in phase second equal to C2. Also suppose the degree of dissociation of the solute in the phase second is alpha, that concentration of undissociated simple molecules in phase second equal to 1 minus alpha C2. Applying the distribution law to chemical first, we get C1 divided by 1 minus alpha C2 equal to K, constant called partition coefficient. Note it is obvious that if the solute undergo dissociation in phase first with degree of dissociation equal to alpha but remain normal in phase second, then the formula obtained will be C1 1 minus alpha divided by C2 equal to K. Similarly, if the solute undergo dissociation in both the phases with degree dissociation equal to alpha in each, then the formula will be C1 1 minus alpha divided by C2 1 minus alpha equal to K. From the above expression, the degree of dissociation alpha can be calculated. Case third, when the solute undergo combination with one of the solvent. Suppose the solute X remains in the normal molecular state in phase first, but one molecule of it combines with n molecules of the solvent S to form the compound molecule XNS in phase second. Then as shown in figure 5.5, following two equilibria will be established. Phase first, phase second, and second is X plus Ns equilibrium with X into Ns in same phase second. Suppose concentration of solute X normal molecules in phase first equal to C1, concentration of the normal molecules in phase second equal to C2, concentration of the solvent molecule in phase second equal to C3, and concentration of compounds molecule in phase second equal to C6. Applying the distribution law of equilibrium, we get C1 by C2 equal to K, the distribution coefficient. Again applying the law of chemical equilibrium to equilibrium second, we get Ce divided by C2 into C1 power n equal to K1, the equilibrium constant. Since the solvent in phase second is present in X, its concentration C3 remains almost constant in spite of combination with the solute X. Particularly if the solute is added in small quantity, that means the solution is dilute, thus C3 की power n is constant, and so the equation 6 becomes C naught divided by C2 equal to K1 into C1 की power n equal to K2, another constant. Adding 1 to both sides, we get 1 plus C naught divided by C2 equal to 1 plus K2. C2 plus C naught divided by C2 equal to K1 plus equal to K2 plus 1. Dividing equation 5 by 7, we get C1 by C2 into C2 by C2 plus C naught equal to K by 1 plus K2. C1 by C2 plus C naught equal to K by 1 plus K2, that means K3, another constant. But C2 plus C naught is the total concentration of the normal as well as solvated molecule of the solute X in phase second. Thus, above equation in fact implies that total concentration of the solute X in phase second divided by total concentration of the solute X in phase second equal to constant. Hence, we conclude that when the solute enters into chemical combination with one of the solvent, there is no modification of the distribution law equation except that the numerical value of the partition constant is changed. Application of distribution law. The distribution law has been applied to the study of problems of both the theoretical and the practical interest, a few of which are briefly discussed below. Number 1. In calculating the solubility of a solute in a solvent, When the two immiscible solvents are in contact with each other and the solute is added in such a large excess that saturated molecules are formed, then the concentration of the solution in the stage will be equal to their solubilities. Assuming that the distribution law is applicable for such concentrations, we will have C1 by C2 equal to S1 by S2 equal to K. With concentration C1 equal to S1 is the solubility of the solute in solvent 1, and concentration C2 equal to S2 is the solubility of the solute in the solvent 2. Thus, knowing the distribution coefficient K and the solubility of the solute in one of the solvent, then the in the other can be calculated. And there are some numerical problems based upon this application. Our next application in predicting distribution indicators. It has been seen that iodine distributes itself between CS2 and water with a distribution coefficient equal to 400 towards CS2. Thus, if a weak solution of iodine is to be estimated, then a few drops of CS2 or CCl4 may be added to this solution. As a result, a considerable amount of I2 will pass into CS2 layer and give a deep violet color. Now the solution may titrate it against hypo solution till the violet color in CS2 layer disappears. Thus, iodine acts as distribution indicator in this case. And next is in the study of chemical equilibria leading to the formation of complex ion. Ki plus I2 changes into Ki3 or I negative plus I2 changes into I3 negative. Kbr plus Br2 changes into Kbr3 or Br negative plus Br2 equal to changes into Br3 negative. CuSO4 plus 4NH3 changes into CuNH3 का 4SO4 और Cu2 पॉजिटिव प्लस 4NH3 CuNH3 का 2 पॉजिटिव. Distribution law helps to us to determine the equilibrium constant for any one of the above equilibrium reactions and hence to stabilize the formula of complex ion on the basis of the constancy in the value of the equilibrium constant. As an example, let us consider the first equilibrium reaction. The study of this equilibrium involves the following steps. A solution of iodine in CS2 is shaken with water to find out the distribution coefficient of iodine between water and CS2. A solution of iodine in CS2 of known concentration is shaken with potassium iodide solution also of known concentration. Number third, after the distribution of iodine is complete between the two layers, the concentration of iodine left in the CS2 layer is determined by titration against standard hypo solution. The result is then calculated as follows. Suppose that initial concentration of iodine in CS2 a moles per liter 0 moles a moles per liter. Initial concentrations of potassium iodide solution equal to b moles per liter. Concentration of I2 left in CS2 layer after distribution equal to c moles per liter. As iodine reacts with potassium iodide, the total concentration of iodine free plus combined in the ground aqueous much higher than if number of potassium iodide were present. Obviously, total concentration of I2 free plus combined in aqueous layer equal to initial concentration of I2 in CS2 minus concentration of I2 left in CS2 layer. That means A minus C moles per liter. Concentration of free I2 in aqueous layer can be calculated by applying distribution law. That means concentration of free I2 in aqueous layer divided by concentration of I2 in CS4 layer. That means K, that is equal to K distribution coefficient. But concentration of I2 in CS2 layer equal to C moles per liter. Amount of I2 that has combined with potassium iodide equal to A minus C minus Kc moles per liter, that is D moles per liter. Now, according to the reaction, potassium iodide plus I2 changes into Ki3. Number of moles of I2 combined equal to number of moles of potassium iodide combined. That means number of moles potassium I3 formed. Therefore, concentration of potassium Ki3 in the aqueous layer equal to D moles per liter. Concentration of potassium iodide in the aqueous layer equal to B minus T moles per liter. Concentration of I2 in the aqueous layer equal to K C moles per liter. Substituting the values in the equilibrium law expression, that is K equal to Ki3 divided by Ki I2. The equilibrium constant K can be calculated. Starting with different initial concentration of iodide and potassium solutions, the value of K dash is determined in each case. A fair constancy in the value of K dash confirms the formula of the complex Ki3 or that of the complex ion I3 negative. Number 5. In the process of extraction. The process of extraction is of great importance both in the laboratory and industry. In the laboratory, the process is often used for removal of distribution substances or dissolved substances from an aqueous solution with the help of organic solvents like ether, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, or benzene. In the industry, the process is used to remove the impurities from the product. Basically, the process involves shaking of the aqueous solution of the substance with an organic solvent which is immiscible with water, but in case the substance is to be extracted is soluble. After shaking, the mixture is allowed to stand. Most of the substances passes into the organic layer from which the former can be separated out by distilling of the organic solvent. However, in order that the process of extraction may be more effective and efficient, the following two conditions must be fulfilled. The value of distribution coefficient of the substances between water and the extracting solvent should be greater in favor of the extracting solvent. It is sometimes possible to increase the distribution coefficient artificially by making the substance less soluble in the aqueous phase. This can be done by adding some substances which decreases the electrolytic dissociation of the compound being extracted. Thus, suppose that an organic acid which ionizes to a certain extent in the hydrogen ion concentration is increased and the ionization of organic acid is reduced because of common ion effect. In the solution, there will be greater amount of undissociated acid and hence the amount of extracted will be greater. Similarly, an organic base can be best extracted in the presence of strong inorganic base. The addition of salt usually lowers the solubility of an organic compound in water, salting or and effect, and thus increases the distribution coefficient. Second condition is the whole of the extracting solvent available should not be used in one lot but it should be used in maximum number of installments. This this factor increases the efficiency of extraction can be seen as follows. Suppose X gram of substance are present in 1 liter of aqueous solution. Also, suppose 1 liter of ether is available as extracting solvent and at the distribution coefficient of the substance between ether and water is 2. Now, if whole of the ether is used in one lot and X gram the amount of substance extracted into ether, then we will have concentration in ether divided by concentration in H2O equal to x by 1000 divided by x minus x divided by 1000 equal to 2. X equal to 2 by 3 of capital X equal to 0.67x. Thus only 67% of the total amount will be extracted in this case. Again, suppose the whole of the ether is used in two installments, each of 500 cc. After shaking with first installment of 500 cc, suppose x1 gram of substance passes into the ether layer. Then clearly x1 divided by 500 divided by capital X minus small x divided by 1000 equal to 2. X1 equal to 1 by 2, x equal to 0.5x. Thus, 50% of the total amount is extracted out in this operation. Therefore, the amount of substance left unextracted x minus 1 by 2x equal to 1 by 2x. Now, 1 liter of aqueous solution containing 1 by 2x gram of the substance is shaken with remaining 500 cc of ether. Suppose the amount extracted into ether by the operation is x2 gram. Then x2 by 500 divided by x by 2 minus x2 by 1000 equal to 2, or x2 equal to 1 by 4 of x equal to 0.25x. That means 0.20%, 25% of the total substance passes into the ether layer in this operation. Therefore, total amount of the substance extracted equal to 50 plus 25 equal to 75%. Thus, when 1 liter of ether is used in two equal installments, the percentage extraction increases from 66.7 to 75. Similarly, it can be seen that 1 liter of ether is used for equal installments. The extraction increases further to 93.75%. A general formula can be derived which gives the amount of substance left unextracted after a definite volume of operations. Suppose W gram of the substance is present in V gram ml of the solution made in solvent A. Also suppose that V ml of the extracting solvent B is used each time and K is dissolved. This K is the distribution coefficient of the substance between the solvent A and B. Now, if W1 gram be the amount of the substance left unreacted, unextracted in solvent A after the first operation, then concentration in A divided by concentration in B equal to K. W1 divided by V minus divided by W minus W1 into KV. K into W minus W1 divided by V equal to W1 divided by capital V, or KV into W minus W1 equal to W1V, or W1 into V plus KV equal to KVW. W1 equal to KV divided by V plus KVW. After the second operation, if W2 be the amount of substance left unextracted in solvent A, so that the amount extracted W1 minus W gram, then W divided by V divided by W minus W2 divided by V equal to K, or W2V equal to W1 minus W2 into KV. W2 equal to KV divided by V plus KV W1. Putting the value of W1 from equation first, we get W2 equal to KV divided by V plus KV into KV divided by V plus KV into W equal to KV divided by V plus KV into W. In general, after nth operation, the amount of substance left unextracted will be Wn equal to Kv divided by V plus Kv. In order that extraction may be most efficient, we should Wn should be smallest possible. This can so only if the factor Kv divided by P plus Kv is small as possible. Now, in this folder, the denominator uv plus kv is greater than the numerator. kV. Therefore, kV into V plus kV is less than 1. Hence, the above factor will be smallest possible when n is largest possible. So, it follows that multi-step extraction is more economical than the single-step extraction. Further, from the above equation, it may be seen that Wn can be never be equal to 0. However, large number may be. In other words, extraction can be never be completed. However, large number of extractions may be carried out. Otherwise, also it is clear that every time the substance is left distributes itself between the two solvents. Some quality, however small, must be left unextracted. The principle of multi-step extraction holds good for washing the precipitating, whereby the impurities distributes itself, the liquid and the precipitate. Further, in Parkes' process for desilverization of lead also, use is made of the principle of extraction. Silver is more soluble in zinc than lead. Zinc is immiscible with molten lead. Thus, when zinc is added to a agnitiferous lead, a large quantity of silver goes into the molten zinc layer, leaving little silver in molten lead layer. Because the distribution coefficient of silver between zinc and lead is 300 at 80 degrees Celsius. Zinc containing silver ions the upper layer. Thus, by repeating the process, almost total quantity of silver can be extracted from agniniferous lead. Number 6. In the determination of degree of hydrolysis. Let us first study some terms and expressions related to salt hydrolysis. Hydrolysis constant, the general equation for the hydrolysis of a salt Ba may be written as Ba plus H2O changes into BaHA plus BOH. Applying the law of chemical equilibrium, we get Ha into concentration of BOH divided by concentration of Ba into concentration of water equal to K, the equilibrium constant. Since water is present in every very large excess in the aqueous solution, its concentration H2O may be regarded as a constant, so that we have Ha into concentration of BOH divided by concentration of Ba equal to K into concentration of water equal to Kh, where K is called the hydrolysis constant. Since Ha and BOH represent the molar concentration of free acid and free base produced, and Ba represent the molar concentration of the unhydrolyzed salt, the above expression for hydrolysis constant may be written in a more general way as Kh equal to free acid into concentration of free base divided by unhydrolyzed salt. Degree of hydrolysis. The degree of hydrolysis of a salt is defined as fraction of percentage of the total salt which is hydrolyzed. For example, if in a solution of anilyl hydrochloride 90% of the salt is hydrolyzed into aniline and hydrochloric acid, the concentration of hydrolysis is 0.90 or may be expressed as percentage, that means 90%. It is usually represented by symbol H. H equal to number of moles of the salt hydrolyzed divided by total number of moles of the salt taken. Expression for the degree of hydrolysis for solution of different types of salt. Uh, as salt of strong acid and base do not undergo hydrolysis, therefore to talk of KH or H such salt is meaningless. The cases of other three types of salt are discussed below. Salt of weak acid and strong base, representing by representing salt by Ba. As usual, the hydrolysis may be represented as follow: Ba plus H2O changes into BaOH, BOH plus Ha, or B positive A negative plus H2O changes into B positive plus OH negative plus Ha. A negative plus H2O changes into OH negative plus Ha. That means it is a case of anion hydrolysis. Suppose the original concentration of the salt in the solution is C moles per liter and H is its hydrolysis at the concentration. Then we have A negative plus H2 changes into OH negative plus HA. Original concentration of at equilibrium C 0 and concentration of OH negative 0 plus concentration of HA is 0. Molar concentration at equilibrium. Concentration of A negative plus H2O equal to C into 1 minus H, and concentration of OH negative plus HA are CH and CH. The hydrolysis constant KH will therefore given by KH equal to OH negative HA divided by A negative equal to CH into CH divided by C into 1 minus H equal to CH square divided by 1 minus H. If H is very small as compared to 1, we can take 1 minus H nearly equal to 1, so that above expression becomes CH square divided by KH equal to H square divided by KH divided by C. H equal to under the root of KH divided by C. And that means H is directly proportional to under the root of 1 by C. Thus, the degree of hydrolysis of a salt of a weak acid and a strong base is inversely proportional to the square root of its molar concentration. Second is, if salt of strong acid and weak bases. For such, a salt B is hydrolyzed may be represented as Ba plus H2O changes into BOH plus HA. That means B positive plus A negative plus H2O changes into BOH plus H positive plus A negative, or B positive plus H2O changes into BOH plus H positive. That means it is case of cation hydrolysis. Proceeding as in the earlier case, we get the same relationship. H is nearly equal to under the root of KH divided by C. Third case is salt of weak acid and weak bases. Representing the salt by Ba as before, we have Ba plus H2O changes into BOH plus HA. B positive plus A negative plus H2O changes into BOH plus HA. That means it involves both anion hydrolysis as well as cation hydrolysis. In this case, we have B positive plus A negative plus H2O changes into BOH plus HA. Original concentration of B positive and A negative are C, and BOH negative and HA are 0. Concentration at equilibrium for B positive and A negative are C into 1 minus H, and that's concentration for BOH plus HA are CH and CH. Therefore, KH equal to concentration of BOH divided by into HA divided by B positive into A negative equal to CH into CH divided by C into 1 minus H into C into 1 minus H equal to H square divided by 1 minus H square. Here the relationship between KH and H does not involve C. Thus, the degree of hydrolysis of such salt is independent of the concentration of the solution. If H is very small in comparison to 1, we can take 1 minus H nearly equal to 1. So that equation third becomes KH equal to H square, H equal to under the root of KH. Determination of degree of hydrolysis of the application of distribution law. Suppose it is required to determine the degree of hydrolysis of aniline hydrochloride, that is C6H5NH2 into HCl, or C6H5NH3 positive into Cl negative, which is a salt of weak acid aniline and strong acid HCl acid. The method consists of two steps as follows. Determination of hydrolysis constant, that is C6H5NH3Cl plus H2O changes into C6H5NH3 positive OH negative plus HCl, that is further changes into C6H5NH2 plus H2O. The hydrolysis constant will therefore be given by KH equal to free aniline into concentration of free HCl acid divided by concentration of unhydrolyzed salt. Thus, to get the value of KH, the aim is to find the molar concentration of free aniline. free HCl acid and the unhydrolyzed salt in an aqueous solution of aniline hydrochloride. This is done by shaking aqueous solution of aniline hydrochloride of known concentration with benzene as solvents. That means water and benzene, whereas HCl and the unhydrolyzed salt remain the aqueous layer only as shown in figure 5.7. Number 1. Calculation of concentration of free aniline in the aqueous layer. For this purpose, the concentration of aniline present in the benzene layer is found by taking a known volume of this layer, evaporating off the benzene and finding weight of aniline left. Having known the concentration of aniline in the benzene layer, that is the aqueous layer, can be calculated. If the distribution coefficient of aniline between water and benzene is known, which can be found a separate experiment. Calculation of concentration of free HCl produced. From the hydrolysis equation, number of moles of HCl produced that equal to total number of moles of aniline produced. But total amount of aniline produced, amount of aniline present in benzene layer plus amount of aniline present in aqueous layer. Each of these amount has already been calculated in step A above, hence the total number of moles of aniline produced and hence the free HCl produced can be calculated knowing the value of the aqueous layer. The concentration of free HCl in the aqueous layer can be calculated. Number C. Calculation of the concentration of unhydrolyzed salt. From the hydrolysis equation, it is clear that the number of moles of the salt hydrolyzed equal to total number of moles of aniline produced of free HCl of the salt taken. The number of moles of the salt left unhydrolyzed can be calculated further knowing the volume of aqueous layer. The concentration of the unhydrolyzed salt can be calculated. Number second is calculation of the degree of hydrolysis knowing the value of hydrolysis constant. The degree of hydrolysis of a solution of aniline hydrochloride having concentration C moles per liter can be calculated directly from the expression H equal to under the root of Kh divided by C. Thank you.